The Garmin Forerunner 245 smartwatch. Should you buy this watch? Or maybe you already have and you want to know how to navigate it. Having owned this watch for a number of months now, I'm ready to give you my assessment. This video is split into two parts, the first half being a how-to guide on how to navigate it and unlocking all the main features, and the second half is my thoughts and giving an overall review of the watch itself. So feel free to select the chapter that's most relevant for you or to watch the whole video itself. So let's jump straight into this video and get going. Hello and welcome to a full tech review and how-to guide on the Garmin Forerunner 245 smartwatch. So let's jump straight into the video, and firstly I'm going to go through the how-to guide of how to navigate this watch. So firstly, it makes sense to start with how to navigate using the buttons. So the Garmin 245 has 5 main buttons to click. There is no touchscreen capability with this watch, so it's just these 5 buttons and these only. You have 3 on the left hand side and 2 on the right hand side, and I'll explain these and what they do now. Starting with the left, you have the light button, and if you hold this, this will also take you to the main menu, which I'll show you in a later bit in the video. You have the up down button to navigate certain screens, so you can navigate certain screens by clicking the up and down button. And then we have the start stop function. This is the best way to record an activity, so you're going to click this to go into the activity screen. And then you have the back button. If you hold the back button, this also acts as the power on and power off. So that's the bottom right hand corner button there. So now we know the buttons and what they do. Let's start with probably the one thing you're going to be doing the most if you bought this watch or looking to buy it, which is to record an activity. So to record an activity, you simply click the start button. This will take you onto the GPS page where you select your activity. What also happens, and something which Garmin Forerunner 245 has, is the Garmin Coach. So it's got today's suggestion for me here, which is to run a base at around 1 hour. If we just ignore that for now. So it's preset as run, but you can change your activity depending on what you're doing. So if you're in the gym, you can select treadmill. You've also got trail run, indoor track, bike, etc. I've actually customized this in a certain order and added a few features, but you can add what you like at the very bottom here on this add icon, and there should be a range of activities you can select from. So let's just select run for this video and just show you how we can navigate that. So it'll take you to this screen here. This is the preset screen. This will be one of the 4 screens I believe you can look at. What you can see here is at the very top is the GPS signal strength. When it turns green, it's locked on. Now I'm indoors recording this video, so it's not quite got full strength. If we just start the activity then, which is clicking the start button once more, so that's the top right button again. It normally vibrates, buzzes, and then you can see 3 main points of information here. So you've got distance on the top, you've got the timer ticking away in the middle, and then you've got your pace at the bottom here, which is really good if you are running, racing, to keep an eye on your pace once you become familiar with that. Once you're on this screen, if you want, you can change and navigate to 4 different screens. So you've got a lap screen if you're doing something on a track, let's say on the bike or running on an athletics track. You can look at your lap times, and then to record a lap you simply click the start button again, and that will be your lap done as soon as you've completed it. You've got your heart rate zone. This is from 1 to 5, so 1 to 5 zones if you know your heart rate zones. Interestingly enough, right now it's saying it's 92, but I haven't actually got it on. But typically, I find this to be pretty accurate when running, although it's not quite as accurate as a heart chest monitor, it has to be said, but for all intents and purposes, it is pretty accurate. And then the final screen is if you just want to look at the time. So if you're not fussed at looking at all these stats, you can just keep it simple and put it back to just a regular watch. And then we'll go back to the main screen here. So once you've done your activity, you've done your run, you're going to click the stop button here. You can also click this just pause if you need a moment to pause the activity for any reason. Once you're on here, I'm using the up-down buttons again, and we can navigate to resume. We can save the activity, and if you've linked this to Strava, this will also save to Strava automatically, as well as Garmin Connect. We've got resume later. Let's say you've cycled somewhere, you'll be cycling back later. You may want to select resume later. We've got lap, we've got back to start if you just want to start again, or you can discard the activity altogether, which is actually what I'm going to do now because we don't need this activity. And then you get a notification saying it has been discarded, and it will take you back to the ready to go on the activity again. Let's jump out of this then. So we'll just click the back button. We'll click that twice, and we're back to the home screen here. So it's simply just saying the time. It's also got the battery life, it's got the date, and it's got the amount we've ran over the week. You can customize this to show miles instead of kilometers, which I know some people prefer, and I interchange between the two myself. This is the preset screen. If you did want to change your screen, I'll show you something now. So if you hold the up button, you'll get this menu come up. So just to show you what's on this menu, you've got watch face, you've got alarm clock. So if you don't want to use your phone, or you don't have any means to use an alarm, you can use an alarm on here. You can look at your history. But if we just go on watch face here, this is the preset one. So if you've bought this and you've taken it out the box brand new, this is what it should look like. But you have got different types of screens to look at and preset, and you can customize this as well. So I encourage you to play around with this and build something that you like. The last one here is something I've built, and I do prefer it just because I can always see the amount of steps I've run, my heart rate, and the battery life in a percentage rather than just an icon, and still my total distance for the week. And I prefer analog sometimes as a display for time, but we'll just put it back into the preset one for now. And in order to do that, you can just click apply. You can customize it further clicking customize, but we don't need to do that now. And then we've got that as the main screen. So what else can you do in this watch, and what else can you navigate with? So it makes sense to show you the main screens at the home page. So we're going to click the up down buttons just to go through them. So we've got training status. With all these screens, if you click the start button again, you can go into them and see more of a high level detail. So in the training status, you can look at your VO2 max. This is an estimate, but right now it's saying 54 for me. You've got your training load over the last 7 days. The more data you get on Garmin, the more accurate this is going to be to kind of project what your optimum kind of training load is. You got your recovery time. I just ran a 10K race today, so my recovery time is very high, 67 hours. So I find this quite good to monitor and stick to if you can. I'd say once you've got a decent amount of data on there, the recovery time is a good suggestion. And then finally, you've got race predictor. So this is if you gave max effort, what your kind of best times could be for different distances. So that's training status. I'm just clicking the back button to go back onto the main screen. We've got health status. This is quite good to look at. So you've got your heart rate over the last 4 hours, which you can look at. You've got stress levels. You've got body battery, starting from the day at the highest to the point where it depletes throughout the day to present. So they're quite good to look at. Something which is quite handy, I think, is step count. I know people track this a lot. So if you click onto the third screen here, you can look at today's activities that you've done, and there's that 10K. I also did a warm-up run, so there's 2 activities. I've got my weekly goal in terms of movement. And then we've got my step counts here. So I've done 18,000 steps today. And you can see that big chunk is mainly from the race itself. If you click into this once more, you can actually look at the last 7 days. I've got a target set up to walk 15,000 steps a day, and when I achieve that, it's shown in green, and when I don't, it's shown in blue there. And then you've got calories burnt. So calories burnt is split into active and inactive calories. You're always burning calories throughout the day, but it's good to distinguish that, and Garmin does that for you. You can measure your SpO2. I've only done this once or twice, so yeah, I don't know how much use that is, but if you did want to measure that, you can. You can look at your notifications, you can look at the weather, and I believe if you click onto this, I just need to connect my phone because it's in the other room, but yeah, you can look at the weather on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, which is quite handy. And then just more notification page here. And then we're back to the main screen. So the last thing I want to show you in terms of the main functions to navigate is the main menu. And in order to access that, you can hold the light button. It's going to take you to this page here. So we've got power off. So this is another way to turn off the watch if you didn't want to hold the back button. You've got assistant. This gives you more tips and tricks in terms of navigating, and I encourage maybe to look at that if this is the first time you own a Garmin. I'm not connected right now, but once the phone is connected, you can actually disable the Bluetooth connection manually, and that's if you don't want to get any notifications. This is a sync button. Let's say you've done an activity, it's not loaded for any reason, you can manually sync. Do not disturb, quite handy, especially during the night. You don't want to be interrupted. If you do keep the watch on, you can select do not disturb. You can lock the keys. I've never really done this, to be honest, but if you are worried about accidentally clicking buttons, you can do that. What is useful is you do have a stopwatch and a timer. Really good if you're doing intervals, but you should know what a stopwatch and timer is, but very self-explanatory. Set whatever kind of timer you want, or just set the stopwatch to go. So they're really useful. And then the last thing you can do, if your phone is connected, you can navigate your music here. Now the Garmin 245 comes in a music built-in version or non-music. This one's the non-music. Personally, I don't need it because I normally have my phone on me connected to Bluetooth headphones. And that's it in terms of the main functions you can scroll through. And it makes sense now to take you through the other main kind of more advanced features. So let's jump into that now. The first more advanced feature I want to talk about with the Garmin 245 is the daily suggested workouts. This is a feature I found myself using the most of the advanced features, and I find with enough data it's a really good suggestion. So when I first got the watch, all it recommended to me was either to do a base run or to rest, but over time as I kept using it, I did find it did show more variety day to day, with tempo runs, thresholds being suggested as well, and rest days become suggested recovery active days as well. So some subtle changes there and some variety in the suggestions. And I gave it a go for a few weeks in terms of running on what it suggested. That sometimes meant running a bit longer than I'd planned or running shorter than I'd planned, by and large. But I did find this did improve my fitness, and especially the days where you need to rest or take it easy, I found very useful. Adding on to this is the recovery time. So with all workouts, Garmin will give you a suggested recovery time, which you don't have to strictly adhere to, and it does improve with good sleep, supposedly. So it does take that into consideration. But yes, I found this feature to be really useful and one of the more fun features to use on this watch. The other main feature I find most runners will probably find of use, especially those new to running, is the Garmin Coach. This is similar to the daily suggested workouts in that it will be giving you recommendations on how to tailor your runs day to day, although there'll be a set objective in mind. This might be to run up to a 5k, 10k or half marathon race. There'll be an adaptive training program you'll follow, and this will be over a number of weeks, if not months, depending on your distance that you've selected. I've not used it myself personally, but I have heard a lot of good feedback, and it's something I recommend potentially you do if you are new to running and might be supplements to, say, a couch to 5k program. Here is a list of the other main advanced features this watch has. We've already covered daily suggested workouts and Garmin Coach, and we've covered a few of these in the how-to guide in terms of navigating the watch, but you can see here some other features that are really going to be powerful for this watch, and some that are unique to the Garmin 245 as opposed to lower end Garmin watches. Let's now kick off the product review of the Garmin 245, and we'll start off with one of the main reasons people look to buy a smartwatch in the first place, and that is features. This watch is jam-packed full of features. I've already covered some on the how-to guide, but let's just cover these again. This watch is going to give you daily suggested workouts. It's going to have a built-in Garmin Coach where you can follow set training plans. It's going to, of course, measure your heart rate and have built-in GPS, which is standard of most smartwatches. What is more advanced, measure your VO2 max and your blood oxygen saturation levels, which I think is a nice added feature and really impressive to see. It's going to show your training status, and it's going to break this down into your fitness and load levels. In terms of your training effort after every activity, it will show you what this has done for your aerobic and anaerobic development. It's going to give you a training load over the last 7 days and show you what is an optimal range. It's going to suggest a recovery time after each workout, and it does monitor your sleep as well, so this recovery time can be improved with sleep. And these are just some of the main features it's going to have. Everything else that you'd expect from a smartwatch, step counts, looking at your intensity and your intensity minutes, etc., all going to be covered in this watch. So overall, I'm very impressed with the features on offer with this watch, and I would suggest that for 90% of users and runners and anyone kind of active, this is going to be more than enough features for you to need, and it's only going to be very specific, more elite athletes which may want a more advanced watch than this. With that said, I'm going to rate this watch for features a 9 out of 10 rating, as it covers the majority of needs of a runner. Let's now talk about two of the more important aspects of any smartwatch, and that is battery life and accuracy of recording. Let's start with battery life and look at officially what Garmin have as a stat. They say that the Forerunner 245 has 7 days of battery life and up to 24 hours when recording in GPS mode. Now, from using this watch for a number of months, I can say that the battery life is actually arguably better than this. Certainly from my experience, I have been recording activities quite frequently, and I'm charging the watch up around 7 days, if not higher. And if I wasn't to be doing activities, I do feel this watch could last potentially up to 2 weeks. So I think Garmin have undersold the stats there, which is really pleasing to see, really, because they've over-delivered on that. In terms of accuracy of the watch, I can't fault it at all. From all the tests I've done and everything I've cross-compared with, it's accurate in terms of measuring distance, pace, and even heart rate seems to be pretty accurate as well, even though it is monitoring it from the wrist. So with both categories, and the fact that the Garmin has over-exceeded on battery life, I'm going to give the watch battery life and accuracy a 10 out of 10. So how much will this watch set you back? I first bought this watch back in November of 2023. This was during a Black Friday sale on Decathlon, and looking at the website now, it doesn't appear that this watch is available, so it's obviously been discontinued from there. And actually it's in limited supply online, so it is few and far between in terms of retailers selling this watch right now. But the best place I can recommend, which I've seen, is from Amazon. So on Amazon.com, you can purchase this watch right now, brand new, non-music, for £207. And that seems to be the best place to purchase this. I had a look on Garmin website itself, and while the product is advertised on the main page, I can't see a way to actually purchase it on there. But please let me know if I've missed something on the Garmin page and if that does work out cheaper at all. But if not, I would buy it off Amazon, which is through the Garmin store anyway. The other alternative is, of course, buying this either from eBay or secondhand through other retailers. But of course, I can't guarantee the quality of the product and the condition of the watch in that scenario. So if it's going to set you back around £200 or just over £200, I think, knowing everything we do about the watch now, I think that's a reasonable price. It's definitely an upgrade from the Garmin 45 and 55, and it's in a kind of lower entry of the more premium watches that Garmin provide. So I think £200 is reasonable, and if you can get a sale of this, and if you can get it below that figure, I think that's much more attractive of a price. So if it is for that price, I think I'm going to have to rate the price aspect of this review a 7 out of 10, so it's in line with expectation. In summary, I've given the Garmin 245 a 9 out of 10 rating for features, a 10 out of 10 rating for battery and accuracy, and a 7 out of 10 rating for market price. Overall, I think it's a great watch, and with those ratings, it scores an 8 out of 10. I've really enjoyed owning this watch so far and using it, which is why I'd highly recommend it to anyone looking at smartwatches, particularly ones from Garmin, is to consider the 245. If, however, this watch is too high of a price point, or not to your liking, feel free to check out this video I made before on the Garmin 45, which is the lower end spectrum of the Garmin watches. That's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed the product review and how-to guide. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm only a small channel, so I don't get too many, and I will be reading all of them. Take care.